Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Sunday night didn't just see the all-important brand warfare of Raw vs SmackDown at Survivor Series, it was also the final night of perhaps the most legendary character in all of wrestling history, the dead man, The Undertaker. Until the next Saudi Arabia show at least. Taker's final farewell was heavily promoted in the weeks leading up to the pay-per-view, with the WWE Network producing several Undertaker-themed shows, Taker himself heading to Cameo for a limited time at $1,000 a pop, so it's okay when he does it, and eating chicken wings. But the actual farewell segment itself wasn't a complete home run. While many people did enjoy Undertaker getting the opportunity to say goodbye, many criticized it, me included, for being a weirdly put together 45 minutes, where about half of that was taken up by a load of WWE legends and Taker's friends from his past, coming down to the ring only to disappear after the video package without saying anything, to be replaced by Vince McMahon to introduce Taker, who himself disappeared, for Undertaker to cut his final promo. Social bubbles are such a drag. According to PW Insider, it was Vince McMahon who put the whole segment together and was hands-on with it all day, with some small input from Triple H, but someone who was in the ring wasn't a fan of it. On Instagram, while answering fan questions, The Godfather, one of Taker's best friends in real life and a member of his BSK crew backstage, agreed with one fan who called his farewell boring, personally adding it could have been better. He also agreed with another fan who called the segment, among other things, lazy, uninspired, and embarrassing, saying well said. What did you think of The Undertaker's retirement segment at Survivor Series? Let me know in the comments down below. Perhaps the segment needed another set of producing eyes to look over it, which WWE now have, as it's been reported by PW Insider that David Fit Finlay has returned to his producer role within the company after being put on furlough back in April during WWE's mass firings. It's also been reported that Shane Hurricane Helms has also returned to his role, which means he won't be available for more cameos in Matt Hardy matches in AEW, like the Elite Deletion match at Full Gear earlier this month. But the real return we've all been waiting for appears to have been dropped. All red everything Eva Marie. It was reported last month by Cultaholic and then confirmed by PW Insider that Eva Marie had re-signed with WWE after saying in an interview that she had unfinished business in the company. At the time, it was reported that creative was working on ways to bring Marie back into the fold, whether that be on Raw or SmackDown, but there were also some questions over what sort of contract Eva Marie had signed. But now, according to Ringside News, so do take this with a pinch of salt, there is currently no talk about Eva Marie's return, adding that they were told her name has not come up in any meetings, and as recently as this past Monday, her name had still not been mentioned. They added on Twitter that there are no creative plans in place for her return. Now here's my review of AEW Dynamite in about 5 minutes. The show opened with Hangman Page taking on John Silver in what is actually a single chapter of a storyline stretching back months of the Dark Order trying to recruit Page, and the Dark Order trying to figure out what exactly their tone is. Page won in a fun back and forth match with Silver, which had a heavily comedic slant at the start. Seeing a man down, out and lonely, Evil Uno then offered Page a place in the Dark Order. It's yet another different version of the faction, with Uno's kindly approach being very different from Brody Lee's manic beatdowns. I've enjoyed most of the various Dark Orders, and I really appreciate AEW tweaking their acts as they go. But I think now, over a year into this faction's existence, is the time to settle down with Brody's vision for the act. Interestingly, talking of character changes, in a beautifully subtle note, Hangman Page did not drink a single beer in this segment, hopefully meaning he's getting back on the horse. The horse doesn't mean heroin in this case. In the packed TNT FTW title picture right now, we got Will Hobbs, now going by Powerhouse Hobbs, wrestle his first match since turning heel and joining Team Taz, where he absolutely squashed Lee Johnson, who was also announced as the latest member of the Nightmare family, because why not? Everyone else is. Even Taz's son. Taz demanded to talk to management about AEW's disrespect of his FTW belt in the post-match, which brought down Cody, who asked why, if Taz is so great, his own son is choosing to train at the Nightmare Factory rather than with him. Cody then turned to face the crowd. Yep, I'm definitely sure that brutal line won't have any repercussions. Psych! Taz has you locked in the Taz mission right now. Later on, Ricky Starks cut one of the best promos of his Dynamite run so far on Darby and Cody, who they'll face next week, and Darby set fire to a car for the dark, emotional feels. Following their impressive debut last week, newly signed brothers Top Flight took on the Hybrid 2 in a grudge match. Unsurprisingly, for how athletic everyone in this match is, there were some really cool, innovative spots. The action was very solid for a team so young. But what I liked most was how Top Flight lost, tapping out to Angelico's leg lock. I often criticize another company for beating their new stars over and over again, which derails any momentum they can pick up. But that's usually when they've debuted much higher up the card. As New Japan has proven over the decades, beating your young boys over and over again actually helps endear the audience to their growth. The Hybrid 2 continued to beat them down after the match, and the Bucks made the save. FTR cut a really cool promo about how losing the tag titles at Full Gear was the worst night of their lives. And in a rare, refreshing admittance, confessed that for 3 seconds, the Young Bucks were the better team. Again, it's another example of how drawing attention to a wrestler's failure can make the rematch story even more compelling. The entire expanded Inner Circle universe was at ringside for Chris Jericho and Jake Hager versus Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, which wasn't just a cool match for the Inner Circle looking so intimidating with their numbers, but also because for the first time in their very long careers, we saw Jericho wrestle Daniels. The heel interference helped Hager get the pin, with MJF punching Daniels with the diamond ring, which Jericho followed with the Judas effect. It's Judas effective! Scorpio Sky saved SCU from a post-match beatdown, which had Jericho cut a fun heel promo later, setting up him versus Kaz for next week. Still waiting on that bachelor's party, Orange Cassidy turned off Kip Sabian and Miro's Mega Drive. Pretty sure that's the most up-to-date console now. Starting a brawl between them and the best friends. Before the contract signing part 2, Kenny Omega cut a great promo on Jon Moxley backstage. Not just putting over how this is a wrestling match, he doesn't want any of that hardcore nonsense, but also by busting out one of the best playground insults of all time. Omega said Moxley's dad sounds tough, following John's promo the previous week, but Kenny's dad would beat the S-word out of him. My dad's stronger than your dad. This led to a great Kingston Moxley stare down backstage as Mox tried to find out who attacked him last week, which brought him to attacking Omega during the greatest entrance in wrestling right now. Heel turn, John. Kenny did a great job of looking like a sniveling bad guy, while Moxley cut an awesome promo, capped off with some Bullet Club fingering. This was really great. I just feel the actual title match next week is coming too quickly. AEW continued to actually give their women's division storylines next. It's a low bar, with video packages recapping Shida's knee injury and Anna Jay's history with the Dark Order ahead of their title match. They had an exciting bout, slightly marred by Ty Conti's conflicted heel act, but one that Shida fought through to retain. And continuing the bold new concept of having actual storylines for women, Abada made her return to lick the belt, which I presume is her way of saying, I would like a title match if you would be so kind. And the main event saw Phoenix and Pac versus Butcher and The Blade, where they started at 11 and stayed there, wrestling at an incredibly fast, dynamic pace, or if you're the Butcher, just clobbering people. Kingston pushed Phoenix off the top rope to help the family win, but then Lance Archer ran down for the save. It's a testament to how strongly AEW have booked their entire men's roster that about half of them could main event Dynamite at any time. What did you think of this week's show? Let me know in the comments down below, and follow us on Twitter at WrestleTalk_TV to vote in our poll on a poll match, where 49.2% of you thought this was excellent. I thought it was really enjoyable, with strong booking and wrestling up and down the card. But it was more of a setup show for next week's big Winter is Coming special. So this AEW Dynamite is a good 3 out of 4. Is Kurt Angle making a wrestling return? And what happened with the botch on Raw? Click the video on the right to find out. And who was crowned the interim tag team champions on last night's WrestleTalk Implodes episode of Quizzlemania? Watch me beat Luke again by clicking the video below that. Make WrestleTalk.com your homepage for all the latest wrestling news. I've been Mr. Davis. Jam that jam.